Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and we're looking at, in a minute, what's going to be a much larger job than some of my other tasks this winter. This is my Asian pear Shinseiki, and what I'm going to do in a minute, I hope, is remove it from the pot. It's pretty pot bound and it does need to be repotted, but I don't want to put it into a larger pot because of the weight of these pots when I have to move them around, and I think the tree will probably be alright, this pot, for another 2 or 3 years before I go larger. But what it will need doing is some pruning, but what I'm actually going to do particularly is prune the roots, provided I can get it out the pot. So the plan is to remove it from the pot, which I'm going to show on video in a minute, and remove it from the pot, get most of the compost off because it's dormant, because we're late in January, and hopefully have a look at the roots and see what sort of state the roots are in, and then show you how to trim them back or prune them back, so I should be able to get it back into the same pot. So I'll flip the camera around in a second and see how we progress with getting it out of the pot. Okay, so the first job to try and do is going to be to try and remove this tree from the pot without causing any problems. We'll get this stake out of the way first. It has, over the period of the couple of years it's been growing in this pot, ended up growing out at a sort of skew-if angle, so I'm hoping if I can get it out that I'll be able to remove the surplus soil, prune the roots, and then straighten the plant up in the pot so that it doesn't need a stake in it. So now, interestingly, it's got growing out here at the bottom. You might just be able to see if I put my glove behind it. It's got growing out here. It's either a root sucker or where a fruit's dropped on the ground, it's possibly seeded itself. So the best thing to do is to pull it out if I can. Now, we're just going to try and grab the stem, see if that's going to let me pull it out. No, that won't work. So I'm going to lay it. The larger the trees are, the harder it is to get them out of these pots, especially once the soil's become so compacted. Right, brilliant, brilliant. Now that is heavy. Woo. And one of the reasons that's so heavy is the soil I originally used has become very compacted in the pot, and it's meant the roots have struggled to get through. And in fact, when I'm looking here, the roots aren't exactly, it's not shockingly pot bound. In fact, I don't even think I'm going to have to prune the roots an awful lot. The first thing to do is see if this is a sucker, if I can find out, because there's no point in encouraging that to stay. So I need to loosen all the soil off the plant here. Now, it's dormant, which means it shouldn't cause any real problems to the plant. In fact, it's not particularly pot bound, but the soil is much heavier than I want to be using. Now, you can actually see, you probably can see, there's a root that's kind of wrapped round the pot here. Now, I might decide not to prune that one off, to be honest. I don't yet know where this sucker has sprung up from, because it seems to be quite low down in the pot. Now, that might mean if I can remove it, I've got a free rootstock from an Asian pear. Now, pruning the roots back shouldn't cause a major problem. I'm only going to give them a light pruning. Yeah, it's going to be very easy to get this back into the same pot. as you can see. Right, cannot see where this sucker has actually come from at present. Looks like quite low down on the root system. So all I'm going to do, I'll just tilt the camera down a little bit. Literally all I'm going to do is lightly tip some of these roots here. My main concern is this particularly large one, as it's curled around a little bit. I've decided to take maybe about 8 inches off that as well, as I don't think it needs that. I'm going to try and get off most of the old soil. Still can't see where this sucker comes from, and I can't find any roots on it either. So I think the best thing to do will probably be just to cut it out and effectively throw it away, because I don't want it to sucker, and if it hasn't got any obvious roots on it, it won't really serve any purpose for me at all. Not easy to track it to the bottom. Yeah, strange. Right, let's just push that up again a minute. And basically all I'm going to do in regards to pruning the plant, I'm just going to remove any obviously dead growth at the moment. This little let's see, this branch here is green. This little one here is completely dead. I'm going to take this back to a flowering bud on this side branch, because I don't need that coming out too far. I do want it to branch out more at the bottom, but I don't want it to come out too wide because space is an issue here. And I'm also going to take off some of these top branches. You can probably just about see it like crossing each other over. So I'm going to cut that one back, and because I've taken some roots off the bottom, I'm probably going to take about the top 12 inches off. There's a couple of very tall ones. I want to leave most of the rest of this growth because it has actually got a lot of flower buds on it, and I should get more flowers this year. I don't think the bare rooting is going to do a vast amount of harm to it if I've done it correctly, but we'll find out obviously in the spring. Now what I'm going to do is actually cut this sucker off, because I can't find where it goes into the plant easily, and it doesn't seem to have any roots on it, so on that basis I think it'd be simple if I just remove it and be done with. I was hoping I was going to find roots on it, but it didn't really serve any purpose at all. Sorry, taking a bit longer than I expected to get into it. Right, that's that removed. No sign of any roots on it, so it's unlikely to grow. But I'll probably just poke it in a pot with some compost just on the off chance. So I'm going to turn the camera around the other way now, so you can just watch me repot it. So I'll just pause that again. Okay, so I've actually put some more drain holes in the bottom of the pot, because I was worried that it was getting waterlogged in.
What the hell?
I'm talking on the video. So sorry if you got the what the hell there, don't worry about it. It's just a random viewer. No, so I've now got this nice light compost I'm putting into the container, which has got some nice clay granules in it as well. And we've got the bare rooted plant now, which is easily going to go back in the same container, and I'm going to try and straighten it up in the pot and get the compost down the side, so we should hopefully get a plant that's going to stand up on its own. Now the reason we're doing this, as I said, is to make sure that you can use the same size pot again. You don't have to keep putting them into larger and larger pots. This works particularly well for members of the pear, apple and prunus families. You don't want to there are lots of tropicals that you obviously couldn't root prune and they suffer badly, but these deciduous plants are a lot tougher and will take quite vigorous root treatment, and it just saves you on extra compost as well. And the idea is to try and get the plant straight as well, because it was tilted at quite a large angle before. I've mixed a fair bit of perlite in with this compost as well to try and make the pot lighter and to improve the drainage as well. And obviously I'm hoping that this plant's going to respond well to this and not have any problems with it in the spring. Make sure the soil's well firmed amongst the pots, amongst the roots as you've disturbed it, and also you want it to stand up straight on its own in the pot as well. So it seems to be done quite nicely. It's certainly standing up nice and straight in the pot now. As I said, I will see if I can save that sucker that I cut off just to see if it can be rooted. Firm it down nicely. It's roughly the same level it was planted before, so despite pruning the roots, I don't think it'll knock the plant back too much when it starts into growth in the spring, because it's got a lot more roots on it than there would have been when it was bare rooted. So that was a quick demonstration on how to repot a bare root fruit tree, something like an apple or pear, peach, cherries, plums. They can all be root pruned. The Asian pears are no exception. It's now nice and straight in the pot, so I'm going to move it back to the end of the garden. And it's heavy, but it's not as heavy as it was before because it's not waterlogged. So we'll get that back into position. Hopefully the video's of some use to a few people who might be watching it. Thanks for watching the video. Please give me a thumbs up. Share it with anyone you think might find it useful. Obviously appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, and remember to click on the bell if you'd like updates on plants such as this to see if it recovers from its bare rooting. I'll catch up with you on the next video. Brett out for now.